Have you ever found yourself thinking, why does this always happen to me? Or perhaps, if only X happened, then I'd finally be happy. These thoughts often feel so natural, almost instinctive. But what if I told you these seemingly innocent thoughts are actually the hidden source of your greatest stress and frustration? Today, we're going to explore the mindset of one of history's most psychologically resilient individuals, the Stoic. We're going to explore 13 specific phrases you'll never hear from someone who truly embodies Stoic principles. And I promise you, by the end of this, you'll gain a whole new perspective on your own inner dialogue and how you frame the world around you. To start, let's quickly clarify a common misconception. Stoics are not emotionless statues, as many people tend to believe. Instead, Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy, a practical guide for living. Its adherents, like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius or the former slave Epictetus, aimed for profound tranquility of mind and unwavering inner strength. Their ultimate secret, the profound ability to discern what is within our control from what is not. This single, powerful principle forms the very bedrock of their entire philosophy and approach to life. So here's the one phrase you'll never hear a Stoic utter. That's unfair. Admit it. That thought crosses your mind all the time. You get cut off in traffic. A colleague gets the promotion you felt you deserved. It rains on the very day you'd planned a picnic. Your first instinctive reaction, of course, that's unfair. This phrase is like a primal scream. It's our demand for the world to conform to our expectations and our personal sense of justice. But a Stoic views this completely differently. For them, the universe doesn't operate on notions of fair or unfair. It simply is. Events just happen. By labelling them unfair, we willingly surrender our inner power to external circumstances. We become a passive victim, only able to lament our fate. Imagine that same situation with the work promotion. Instead of seething with resentment and muttering to themselves, how truly unfair this is, a Stoic would ask themselves entirely different questions. Okay, this happened. What can I control in this situation? Can I speak with my superiors to understand the selection criteria? What skills do I need to develop to be a better candidate next time? What is this situation teaching me? See the difference? The focus shifts from helpless complaining to constructive action. A Stoic doesn't waste precious energy on what has already happened and what they cannot change. They direct it towards what is within their power, their own reactions, decisions, and future steps. Complaining about unfairness is a dead end, but seeking out your zones of control is a direct path to true strength. Next up, phrase number 2, a Stoic would never utter, "Why me?" This is the classic victim's question. When something bad happens, illness, job loss, betrayal, this question naturally arises. It's steeped in self-pity and the feeling that fate has singled you out as its target. We look at others and wonder, why are things going well for them, while this misfortune has fallen upon me? What did I do to deserve this? A Stoic, however, would never ask this question. Do you know why? Because they consider it meaningless and even a bit arrogant. By asking, why me, we implicitly assume we should be immune to life's difficulties by default, as if we possess some invisible armour that has been pierced by something extraordinary. But Stoics view the world realistically. They understand that difficulties are not an exception, but an integral part of life. They happen to everyone, to good people and bad, to the rich and the poor. Asking, why me, is like asking, why does it rain? Or, why does the sun set? It just happens. Instead of why me, a Stoic asks a different, far more powerful question. Now that this has happened to me, how can I use it? They see difficulties not as a punishment, but as a training ground for the spirit. Illness, an opportunity to practice patience and appreciate health. Job loss, a chance to find your true calling. Betrayal, a bitter yet valuable lesson about human nature. The The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius famously said that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He viewed every problem not as a wall, but as a stepping stone to rise higher and become stronger. So, the next time you feel like asking, "Why me?" try replacing that question with, "What can I do about this?" And you'll feel helplessness give way to strength. Alright, let's move on to the third phrase that is entirely antithetical to Stoic thought. If only I had more money, or time, or love, then I'd be happy. This is arguably one of the biggest pitfalls in contemporary society. We constantly live in a state of deferred happiness. We're convinced we lack something crucial for complete satisfaction. I'll buy a new car, and then my life will begin. I'll find the perfect partner, and everything will fall into place. I'll retire, and finally, I can relax. We build our happiness on external circumstances and future promises, on what lies outside our immediate control. But a Stoic understands this is a dead end. The pursuit of external goods is like trying to slake your thirst with salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. A Stoic, whether the powerful emperor Marcus Aurelius or the former slave Epictetus, understood a simple truth. True well-being, or eudaimonia, comes not from without, but from within. It doesn't depend on your bank account, social status, or the number of likes on social media. It depends solely on the quality of your thoughts, on your virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Imagine someone who wins the lottery. Do they automatically become happy? Research shows they don't. Within a short period, their happiness levels often revert to baseline, and sometimes even decrease due to new problems. Now imagine someone who, despite financial difficulties, finds reasons for joy every day, helps others, and cultivates their mind. Which of them is truly rich? A Stoic doesn't claim that money or relationships are inherently bad. No, they are what's called preferred indifference. In other words, if you have them, that's fine. If you don't, their absence shouldn't destroy your inner peace. Happiness that depends on things you can lose isn't happiness at all. It's anxiety in a pretty package. True joy is a byproduct of a life well lived, right here and now, with what you already possess. And now, for the fourth item on our list of things you'll never hear, a Stoic say, "This is the worst day of my life." Oh, how we love to dramatise. Spill your coffee, run late for a meeting, have a disagreement with a loved one, and suddenly your brain screams, "That's it! It's a catastrophe! The worst day ever." We're prone to exaggerating the negative, blowing a minor inconvenience into a cosmic tragedy. That phrase, it's pure emotion, a raw outburst that has completely bypassed rational thought. A Stoic, however, approaches this with surgical precision. Their primary tool is the clear separation of facts from judgments. Fact: there's a coffee stain on your shirt. Judgment: this is awful, my whole day is ruined, I look like an idiot. Fact: you're late for work. Judgment: I'm such a failure, I'm definitely going to get fired, my life is completely spiralling out of control. A Stoic would never allow themselves to descend into such dramatic assessments. Instead, they simply state the facts as objectively as possible. Not the worst day, but rather, 3 inconvenient things happened today. Can you feel the difference in tone? The first conveys panic and helplessness. The second, a calm, analytical approach. This approach doesn't make someone cold or heartless. It makes them incredibly effective. By consciously removing words like terrible, horrible, and unbearable from your vocabulary, you strip negative events of their emotional power over you. You're not making a mountain out of a molehill. You simply see the fly, acknowledge its presence, and then calmly consider how to deal with it. This preserves your mental clarity and allows you to focus on solving the problem rather than wallowing in the drama. For a Stoic, there are no worse days. There are simply days with different sets of challenges to navigate. Next up on our list, or phrase number 5, it's a short yet incredibly insidious statement. I can't bear it. We utter this phrase when we feel we've reached our breaking point, when pain, stress, or frustration seem so overwhelming that one more drop will make us crack. I can't bear this pain. I can't stand this job. I can't put up with his behaviour anymore. It sounds like a statement of fact, an admission of our own powerlessness. But to a Stoic, it's not a fact. It's a lie we tell ourselves. Stoic philosophy teaches that we are never given more than we can handle. Within each person lies a vast reservoir of inner strength, often far beyond what we realise. To say, I can't bear it, is to surrender before the real battle even begins. It's an attempt to shirk responsibility for our reactions and find an excuse for capitulation. Epictetus, who himself endured slavery and physical suffering, taught that for every trial we face, we possess a corresponding virtue to overcome it. If you're insulted, you have patience. If heavy work weighs you down, you have endurance. If you face temptation, you have self-control. So when you catch yourself thinking, I can't bear this, a Stoic would urge you to pause and ask yourself, is that truly accurate? Or is it just a habitual reaction of a mind that fears discomfort? What if I can bear it? What if I can bear even more? Realising that you are much stronger than you typically believe is one of the key steps toward achieving Stoic tranquility. You are not a fragile vase, but durable steel, forged in the fires of adversity, and you can endure far more than you imagine. All right, we're at point number 6, and this phrase is one of the most common in everyday speech. He made me angry, or she hurt my feelings. We say this all the time, constantly shifting responsibility for our emotions onto others. It's as if the other person is some kind of wizard with a remote control, pressing buttons like anger or resentment, and we're powerless to do anything about it. We become puppets, our feelings mere strings that others pull. A Stoic, however, strongly disagrees with this notion. For them, this idea represents a fundamental error in thinking. According to Stoicism, no one and nothing external can make you angry, sad or hurt without your internal consent. Events themselves are neutral. Someone saying something harsh to you, that's a fact. But your reaction, anger, resentment, irritation, that's your judgment of that fact. It's your internal choice. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, if something causes you distress, it's not the thing itself that's to blame, but your judgment of it, and it's within your power to change that judgment. Imagine someone yells at you. You could choose to get angry in return, and in doing so, you'd surrender control over your emotional state to that person. Or you could choose a different reaction. For example, you might think, this person is probably having a bad day or isn't themselves. Their anger is their problem, not mine. Or even analyse with curiosity. I wonder why these words affect them so deeply. The moment you realise there's a tiny gap between an event and your emotion, a gap for your choice, you gain incredible freedom. No one can make you angry anymore. People may act in certain ways, but how you react to it is entirely up to you. This is true emotional independence. Let's move on to our 7th phrase. It sounds deceptively positive, but it's utterly unstoic. I hope everything will be all right. What's wrong with that, you might wonder? Hope, after all, is a bright emotion that helps us move forward. We hope to pass exams, land a job, or that our loved ones stay healthy. Yet Stoics view hope with deep suspicion. For them, hope is a passive form of desire. When we simply hope, we surrender control to fate, chance, or anyone but ourselves. We sit back and wait for a favourable outcome to magically materialise. It's the stance of a child who expects their parents to solve all their problems. A Stoic, however, is an adult. They don't hope, they prepare. Instead of passive hope, Stoics employ a powerful tool called premeditatio malorum, which can be translated as premeditation of evils, or the contemplation of misfortunes. It sounds grim, but in practice, it's a highly practical technique. Before an important event such as a public speech, someone who merely hopes will try to ward off negative thoughts. A Stoic, on the other hand, does the opposite. They sit down and calmly visualise everything that could go wrong. I might forget my lines. The projector could break. Someone might ask a tricky question. The audience might be noisy. And what then? Panic? No. Next they ask themselves, what will I do in each of these scenarios? If I forget my lines, I'll have my notes with me. If the projector breaks, I'm prepared to speak without slides. If a tricky question is asked, I'll have thought through possible answers beforehand. As a result, instead of blind hope, the Stoic gains confidence. They're prepared for the worst so nothing can throw them off track. They don't hope for good weather. They simply bring an umbrella. This proactive stance is what distinguishes a mature practitioner of Stoicism from someone living in a world of illusions and empty hopes. Number 8 on our list is a phrase fueled by ego and a deep hunger for validation. I'll show them all. This thought often becomes a powerful driving force. We've been wronged, doubted, or even fired, and a fire ignites within. Just you wait. I'll become successful, rich and famous, and you'll regret it. I'll prove my worth. It's the classic revenge plot straight out of a Hollywood movie, but a Stoic would never fall into this trap. Why? Because the desire to prove yourself to everyone is a form of slavery. When your primary motivation is the opinion of others, you essentially make them your masters. Your mood, your self-worth, your happiness, all of it becomes dependent on them. You're not truly living your own life. Instead, you're constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering, what do they think? Did they acknowledge my success? Are they envious enough? It's an endless, exhausting chase for external validation. A Stoic, on the other hand, understands that the only opinion that truly matters is their own judgment of their actions. The only person they compete with is the person they were yesterday. Their goal isn't to impress the crowd, but to live in harmony with their principles and virtues. As Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The desire to prove something is suffering in imagination. We replay scenes of triumph in our minds, picturing the astonished faces of those who wronged us. But in reality, it brings only fleeting satisfaction. True strength lies in doing the right thing, simply because it is right. It's about growing not for others' applause, but to become the best version of yourself. A Stoic doesn't need to prove anything to anyone else. The approval of their own conscience is sufficient, and that is the most reliable and stable foundation in life. Here's the 9th phrase that's a red flag for any Stoic. It's all his fault. Or, everything went wrong because of her. This is perhaps the easiest and most tempting way to deal with setbacks, to find someone to blame. Did the project fail? It's the colleague who didn't pull their weight. Did a relationship fall apart? It's the partner who wasn't attentive enough. Did we break a promise? It's the circumstances that got in our way. Shifting blame is a mental reflex that instantly relieves us of discomfort and responsibility. It shields our fragile ego. After all, if someone else is to blame, then we're perfectly fine. We're good, smart, and capable. We just got unlucky with our surroundings. But a Stoic sees this not as protection, but as weakness and self-deception. Epictetus clearly categorized people into 3 groups. The ignorant, he said, blame others for their misfortunes. The one who is beginning to learn blames themselves. And the wise person blames no one, neither others nor themselves. What does this mean? It means a Stoic always starts analysing any problem with themselves. Even if, objectively, someone else made a mistake, the first question a Stoic will ask themselves isn't who's to blame, but what did I do or fail to do that led to this outcome? What's my share of responsibility in this situation? What expectations did I have that proved to be incorrect? How did I react to the other person's mistake? This approach has nothing to do with self-blame. Its aim isn't to beat yourself up, but to identify where you can effectively apply your efforts. You cannot change another person. You cannot force them to admit fault, but you can always change yourself, your reactions, and your future actions. By blaming others, we hand over control of our lives and trap ourselves in the role of a perpetual victim. By taking responsibility, we reclaim that power. This is the journey from childish thinking to a mature, conscious stance. The 10th phrase, utterly unthinkable in a Stoic's vocabulary, is simply this: I'm so bored. Boredom. That sluggish, unpleasant sensation where time drags endlessly and there's nothing to do. We sit in a waiting room, commute on public transport, or find ourselves alone at home, and immediately reach for our smartphones to fill that void. For modern individuals, boredom is an almost unbearable state. We fear being left alone with our own thoughts. A Stoic, however, would look upon this with surprise. For them, boredom isn't a problem, it's a symptom of an undeveloped inner world. How could one possibly be bored when they possess the most fascinating and complex subject for study, their own mind? As Seneca wisely said, as long as you live, as long as you are among men, keep on learning. For a Stoic, the world is an endless wellspring for observation, contemplation, and self-improvement. If a Stoic finds themselves in a situation we'd label boring, they don't perceive it as emptiness. They see opportunity, an opportunity to reflect on the day gone by, to analyse their reactions, to recall a wise quote and apply it to their life, simply to observe the people around them, not judging, but striving to understand them, to practice their mindfulness by focusing on their breath. For a Stoic, there's no such thing as empty time. Every minute is an opportunity for practice. Boredom is a choice. It's an admission that you've surrendered control over your state to external stimuli. If there's no TV show, no newsfeed, no entertainment, you feel lost. A Stoic, conversely, carries the primary source of entertainment and meaning within themselves. Their mind is their kingdom, their laboratory, and their library. And in such a place, boredom simply cannot exist. So, the next time you find yourself bored, don't ask, "What can I do?" Instead, ask, "What interesting thing can I think about right now?" The 11th thing you'll never hear a Stoic say is, "I'll start on Monday." Oh, that magical Monday, the day we promise ourselves a fresh start. Quit smoking, hit the gym, learn a new language. We create the illusion of a perfect beginning, shifting responsibility from our present selves to our future selves. It's a convenient way to do nothing right now, yet feel good about it because, hey, you've got a plan. But to a Stoic, such procrastination is absurd and one of the greatest thefts a person commits against themselves. Stoicism is the philosophy of the present moment. The only time we truly possess and can control is now. The past is gone and we cannot change it. The future hasn't arrived and it doesn't belong to us. All we have is the current moment and our choice of how to live it. To say, "I'll start on Monday," is to willingly devalue and discard today, along with Tuesday, Wednesday. It's an implicit statement that these days aren't good enough to improve. A Stoic, however, understands that great changes aren't the result of one decisive leap on some perfect day. They are the sum of thousands of small, right decisions made right now. As Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, do not live as if you have 10,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you are alive, while it is in your power, be good. For a Stoic, there's no more opportune time for action than the present moment. Therefore, he doesn't wait for Monday. He starts now. And now for our 12th point, which might come as a bit of a surprise. The phrase is, "I don't care what others think." At first glance, that sounds very Stoic, doesn't it? To be independent of others' opinions, to be self-sufficient. Many even consider this a core tenet of Stoicism. But there's a crucial, subtle nuance here that separates a wise Stoic from an antisocial recluse. When someone says, "I don't care," they often imply complete and utter indifference to society. This is a stance of isolation, sometimes even arrogance. It's the sentiment of, "I'm above all this. Your opinions mean nothing to me." A Stoic, however, would never disdain society. On the contrary, one of the key pillars of Stoicism is the idea of cosmopolitanism, seeing oneself as a citizen of the world, a part of the unified human community. Stoics believed in a duty to other people, in the importance of cooperation and social harmony. So what's the difference? A Stoic isn't indifferent to other people, but they truly are indifferent to unwarranted praise or unconstructive criticism. They don't seek the approval of the crowd and aren't afraid of its condemnation. Their self-worth isn't dependent on likes or dislikes. They won't do something wrong just because it's popular, nor will they shy away from doing what's right out of fear of ridicule. But at the same time, they will carefully listen to wise counsel. They will value the opinion of a competent person. They will care about their reputation, understanding that it's a tool for effective interaction with others. Put simply, a Stoic filters others' opinions through the sieve of reason and virtue. They ask themselves, is this opinion based on truth? Will it help me become better? Is this person speaking out of a desire to help or out of envy? Therefore, the correct Stoic position isn't, I don't care what others think, but rather, I value relationships with people, but my inner fortress is not dependent on their fleeting judgments. It's a balance between social responsibility and inner freedom. And now we've reached the ultimate point, the most subtly deceptive phrase a Stoic would never utter, precisely because it goes against the very core of their philosophy. It sounds so positive, yet many of us shape our entire lives around it. Number 13. I just want to be happy. Quite a twist, isn't it? So why wouldn't a Stoic say this? Because to them, happiness, in our conventional sense, is a fleeting emotion, entirely dependent on external circumstances. Get a promotion, you're happy. Lose it, you're miserable. It's an emotional roller coaster. Instead, a Stoic strives for eudaimonia. This Greek term can be translated as human flourishing or a life well lived. It's a state of profound inner well-being that remains unshaken, whether the sun is shining or it's pouring rain outside. Eudaimonia is the natural outcome of living in harmony with virtue, reason, and nature. It's the deep tranquility that comes from knowing you're doing everything within your power and calmly accepting what you cannot change. This truly is the unbreakable fortress of the mind. So, the point isn't to simply banish these 13 phrases from your vocabulary. It's about understanding the underlying mindset that gives rise to them. By shifting our thinking, we naturally transform our words and ultimately our lives. Thank you for watching this video to the very end. If it gave you something to think about, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming lessons in practical wisdom. Now, a question for you. Which of these 13 phrases resonates most often in your own mind? And are you willing to try viewing it through a Stoic lens? Share your thoughts in the comments below.